Well, hello there again. There's nothing more fun than going out dumpster diving and finding something that's actually quite nice. In this case, I managed to pick up this Vestax PMC 15 professional mixing controller. And yeah, since, well, I have a lot of devices that I would actually like to hook up to a stereo, and this thing has a lot of inputs and only one output, that is really nice. Now, the thing actually itself seems to work just fine. But the crossfader, which is here, seems to be bad. I've already actually disassembled the potentiometer in here and gave that a proper cleanup with contact cleaner and some WD-40 as lubrication, and it kind of seems to work. So, music is playing. I haven't actually cleaned this thing already. This was just the only thing I worked on because it didn't work at all. In the beginning I got no sound at all. So, since I have audio on this side, if I move the crossfader all the way over to the 3 here, I should not get any sound coming from the speakers at all. Oh, well, of course now it works. Yeah. This is like pretty much the equivalent of taking your car to your mechanic, saying something is wrong, and then the car doesn't do the sound that you describe. Okay, well now all of a sudden it seems to work, but the issue pretty much was that if I even move this thing all the way over here, the sound which is now not playing anymore, would still be there. And as you can hear, it's not actually fading out properly. The volume doesn't go down unless it reaches the very end. Ah, there we go. Now it works. Well, now the fourth works at least. So yeah. That crossfader is bad, and someone already had a try at and maybe like fixing this. Don't worry, I actually still have the cover for this and everything to mount it properly. I just put in a bath with some soapy water to clean up all that dirt and debris on here. But I've actually managed to find this thing again, although it's a bit hard to actually find this potentiometer in particular. But eventually scavenging on AliExpress a bit, I did eventually manage to find it, which is that one right here. So before I actually started searching for this thing online, I thought, well, since this has a removable panel, I could also just put in a turning potentiometer, and that would work as well. But I don't really want to do that. I would actually really like to have this thing to work properly. I mean, everything else seems to work just fine. I haven't tested the microphones or the Q selector, but yeah, other than that, this thing is totally fine. It just needs a little bit of cleanup, and you're good. So yeah, the person who had this thing before me seemed to get quite a bit of use out of it, because there's a lot of wear, especially around the crossfader for some reason. No idea why, but if I actually looked up pictures of this unit online, all of these units seem to have a lot of wear around this area where the crossfader is. No clue why. Nowhere else is any like seriously visible amount of wear as with this. So yeah, the crossfader has been used a lot, and the contacts, as I opened this thing up, they were pretty worn. So, well, what's pretty much left to do? Well, this thing is pretty dirty, and I would actually like to get everything in a very nice and clean look again. Take off all those stickers on here, since, well, they are blocking some text and the volume levels, which is a bit annoying. Although, hey, it's the Atari logo, maybe? That alien transistor seems to be some kind of record label, with also the Pirate Bay cassette, if I'm not wrong with that. But yeah, other than that, this seems to be a really nice unit. I've actually already taken off the back panel, and there we go. It's just 3 big circuit boards. And yeah, well, since this thing is pretty much just mostly switching audio signals, of course there's not a lot to it, just a whole bunch of switching logic in here. So yeah, and the boards themselves do appear to be of decent quality. All layout and everything is fairly neat. So, well, now I want to go and get that top board out, a big one, and get access to all those potentiometers in there, and the switches, of course, because, well, there still are a bit of contact issues, and I would kind of like to get rid of them. I mean, they at least went as far as adding some felt in there to stop dust falling in it, but when I opened this thing up, this whole thing was just filled with black, dirty goo, meaning a lot of rust, well, not rust, a lot of dust actually fell in there, and yeah, that's why. Now, I presume if you contact the company and you maybe still be able to get some replacement parts of this, but you would get the whole circuit board, not just the potentiometer, of course, and it would cost quite a bit of money. I mean, I've actually found a website which isn't from China that sells the exact same potentiometer, but they wanted like almost 30 euros for this thing. Are you kidding me? It's just a freaking potentiometer. Really? If you can find it on the Chinese website, which is exactly the same unit as this one, no difference whatsoever, and it costs like $6 delivered, well, or $7 delivered, well, why 30 euros with an additional 4 euros of shipping just so you have tracking on it? Whereas the Chinese thing already has tracking on it due to the $1.58 shipping fee. It's ridiculous. People rip off other people with this audio equipment, and it's freaking annoying. So yeah, it actually took me quite a while to find the proper component. Well, yeah, now there's the fun part of removing all the screws that are on this unit. Yay! Well, at least there are not that many. Alright, all the screws are removed, and damn, you can see underneath the potentiometers. Wow, that is dusty. That's really dusty. So yeah, this thing has definitely seen a lot of use. But the good thing is, after taking off all the knobs and everything, there's nothing else you have to take off. It's just literally 5 screws holding on the top lid. And damn, it's heavy. Ta-da! Wow, the dust does not stop there. That is quite a bit. So let's take off these felts, if I can remove all of them. And they aren't glued down somewhere. That's just the switches holding them on. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and wash these off. And well, first make sure they don't actually dissolve. And yeah, you can see there's still quite a bit of dust in the potentiometer, so probably the first thing I should do is get off the air compressor and clean out all of those pots in there. And yeah, then start to apply the contact cleaner to just, well, clean the contacts. That's simple. And yeah, then clean up all the switches that are usually like visible on the outside, and as well clean the front panel, which I have there now. So yeah, didn't actually need to remove the bottom panel. Wow, this thing is pretty darn service friendly. But well, it's Japan, so of course, what do you expect? It's gonna be service friendly. And yeah, some of these actually do feel kind of crusty. I don't know if the potentiometers which are used here are the same as the ones that were used there, but it certainly looks like it. And well, of course, why use different ones when you can use the same one? And well, if some others have some severe contact issues like this one, which so far is not the case. Alright, man, that's a lot better. No more dust. Well, insanely huge amount of dust inside this unit. So, well, all that's left to do now is clean all of these potentiometers in here, and all the switches and whatnot. And also, well, clean up the switches a bit that are actually visible on the outside, with a slightly wet cloth. So, it's time for a pointless time-lapse. Cue the music. So yeah, that's all the important contacts on this thing cleaned. Now the two transformer switches, I will probably have to do that from the bottom because it doesn't seem like I can... Oh, I can do. Lol. I thought I couldn't access those from the top. But yeah, same procedure. And done. Alright, everything is nice and clean. So let's turn off the volume. And as you can hear, pretty much no scratchy sounds are there anymore, which is really good. Because, well, as I got this thing, since everything was pretty dirty in there, yeah, you had that scratching in there all over the place, and it's really annoying. But, yeah. Now, this one I actually ordered the replacement part. I'm going to do another video on actually swapping that one out, but for now I'm just going to keep it as it is. And when I get that in maybe a month or two, because yeah, AliExpress, if you're lucky, it sometimes can even arrive in less than 2 weeks. But I doubt that I'll be that lucky, so yeah, probably gonna take a month or so. But yeah, it works. Also really nice that this thing has a view meter on it. So we'll have to find actual equipment that actually still has view meters on it. Well, I mean, for something like this, of course it makes sense to have something like that. So yeah, all that's now left to do is clean the top panel. And, well, I've got all the switches and everything that are visible from the outside in here. Just gonna go ahead and brush those all off under some clean water, and everything should be super shiny and good looking again. Alright, those felt pieces actually have now dried and they are nice and clean. There's no excessive dust on them anymore. So now I can actually go ahead and mount that big heavy metal sheet back on it. Well, of course, these things look a bit wobbly now, but yeah, I washed them, so of course they look like that. I don't dare to actually iron them. But I mean, since there's a heavy metal plate sitting on top of this, I think that should be more than okay. And there we go. That's back on. I haven't screwed it down yet, but I'm gonna do that right now. So as you can see, I got the thing back together. I also got the panel for the potentiometer on, and I dug around my box of screws, and I found some fitting screws, which would actually fit on there. Unfortunately, they don't have that angle on the bottom, so they don't fit properly. But for now, it's going to do just fine, since the screws that were in here before were way too huge, and the threads that actually are in the potentiometer, yeah, they are not in great shape anymore. They don't hold to the screws that well anymore, but these do, so that's good. And that's actually the correct size. Just found these on an old laptop I just assembled, and I have a whole box full of various tiny screws, and they work. Alright, so now I can show you the defect that this thing has with the crossfader actually. I have on this channel song playing, as you can see here, and on the other one, which is 2, so I have song on 2 and 3. So that's 2 devices that I actually hooked up to this. So I should be able to transition now from one YouTube audio library song easily over to the other. And as you can see, that kind of seems to work. But as you can hear, it's not fading in and out properly. So it's pretty much still a full volume, even if I just nudge it a tiny bit, which is exactly what it shouldn't do. And if I go over here, the two sounds are just overlapping the whole time, and it's not really nice. So yeah, it works, but it doesn't work reliable, and I kind of want this thing to work reliable again. And I mean, if the piece only costs like $7 delivered, then why not do it? So then I have a proper, fully working mixing controller that I can hook up a lot of stuff, and that will work just fine. So yeah, it's at the end and the both tracks are playing against each other. Sometimes I have to nudge a bit to actually do the fault again, but it's just not good. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, so it's just better to swap the whole thing out. So yeah, that's pretty much done for the repairs I will do now. Of course, as you can see, all the knobs and dials are missing. Since those are still drying, they take a little bit longer than the other pieces, which I can just wipe off of a dry cloth. And yeah, I'll put those back on and make another video where I actually desolder that potentiometer in here and solder in the new one to make this thing work properly like it should again. Since this is a really nice unit for at least what I want to do with it. Alright, and there we go. Everything is back on and dry and clean and like it should be. And it works just fine. The crossfader still is a bit... Sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't work, so it's a bit unreliable. So yeah, that's it for a moment, and I will see you again with this unit when I'm swapping out that crossfader when it arrives in a month or so.